So as we wave goodbye to 2024 and slide into 2025, I thought it was time to get my act together and finally do a garage tour. Now, this took a little bit longer than I expected because it turns out that I've spent 500 million assembling this collection of 319 cars, bikes, trucks and planes. So I'm going to try and show you them all in this video. Starting with this Imaika Satka, my totally 70s themed Toreador, which for reasons I don't understand, I was not allowed to take out because my plan was to go to every garage, pick a car and drive to the next one. But that's not worked, so here we go. We'll go in the Sparrow instead. So what I'll try and do, because this is going to be quite a long video, I'm going to speed up the sections between the garages so you don't have to watch my appalling driving or flying as we move along. So we start down here, and I've got to admit I've forgotten what is in most of these garages. They're reasonably well themed, so this looks like EVs. Here we've got the Raiden, which is styled on my actual car in real life. It's not quite the right blue, but it's close enough. Brilliant car in real life, crap in the game. Over to the Omnis EGT, another car that I just can't like. I accept that it's good, but I just can't like it. Maybe it's because I hate Audis. And onto a pair of Cyclones. So here we've got the original Cyclone, which even though I've butchered it in that green and white, which I need to change, I think is the better looking of the two. This is still a nice looking thing, really, really fast, but shockingly bad handling. Also incredibly expensive, but still a cool car. Moving over to the Buffalo EVX. Ooh, one of my least favourite cars. I just can't make this look good. I mean, look at that. That's about my third attempt at customising it, and it still looks awful. The Tesseract, not everyone's favourite, but I quite like it. It looks dramatic. I think the matte black really suits it, and it's a fairly cool car. Disgustingly expensive, but pretty cool. Original wheels as well. And we hit the most useful car in the game, the Virtue. Available for free, so never buy it. Just do the DAX missions to get that. Another one I don't like, the Bollocan, emphasis on the Bollocan and Visage. It's too expensive, nice handling, but just not worth the money. And two of my favourites in this garage, we've got the Neon. This is a fairly recent purchase and I love this thing. I thought it was based on the Taycan, but it's actually based on the concept that released before then. And another that's based on a concept car is this, the La Couruse. So this is based on Renault's EV concept, which in turn was based on the Renault 5 Turbo Group B Rally Monster. So let's pick a car to move on, and because I'm never going to drive it any other time, let's take the Envisage. And we'll head over to this factory, which is quite... I probably should rename this, but yeah, so this factory, if I ever get there in this horrific car, is called Sausage Fest. So no surprise, it's full of German cars, starting with one of my favourites, the Niobe. I love this thing. Slightly tricky handling, but ridiculously quick. Great car, you should all buy it. As with this, the Sentinel Classic Custom. Just looks so much like the original E30 BMWs. I absolutely adore that thing. Everyone should have one of those. SC1 a lot better than you think. Quite tricky at first, but when you get used to it, a really, really nice car. Quite unusual. You don't see those that often, so I'm quite like that one. Then we've got the 8F, about the only Audi, or Obey should I say, in the game that I actually like. This thing handles great, sounds good. The Feltzer. Very much underappreciated. A lot of the cars that you steal from the street, a lot of people never bother buying, but you can't keep most of these if you steal them. And when you do, I mean, yes, I know it looks like it was designed by a 12-year-old with a spade, but it's still fabulous. Here we've got the Cypher, a little bit dull but brilliant. It's just good at everything, looks okay, looks very realistic, drives well, handles well, looks nice, but a bit dull. Speaking of dull, that's a Weevil. Moving on. If you want to look at a proper Weevil, so this is the Weevil Custom, which I believe is still the fastest. By the fastest, I mean has the highest top speed of any non-HSW car in the game. I mean, the handling's criminal, so you can't do anything when you get up to that top speed. Obviously, we've got a Surfer Custom in there as well. I'm not sure why, because it's not one of the rare ones. And then the pride of this garage has got to be here. It's the Schlagen GT. Yes, I know the Niobe's faster, but just look at that thing. Looks good, sounds good. Easily one of my favourite cars in the game. I use that one quite a lot. So let's pick a car to get out to the next garage in. And I think it's got to be the Felser. So a short hop over to here. Now this is kind of a track day themed garage, sort of. And we start with the Gauntlet Hellfire, which, although I like how it looks and how it sounds, I don't use it that often. This one I use a little bit more. The original Omnis, based on the original Audi Quattro. Fabulous looking thing. Bit slower than I'd like, but cool. Another good one there, the Hijack Ruston. Really, really nice handling. Interesting looks, but really nice handling. Love that car a lot. And this is very much underappreciated, the Massacro. A lot of people haven't seen or even heard of this. It's incredibly cheap. It's about 200,000 when it comes out to buy. And it just, I think it's the best looking of the Aston Martins. Speaking of good looking cars, we've got the S2 Cabrio, which is an almost pixel perfect reproduction of the 911 Cabrio. And then another one you can steal off the street. So I bought this one. This is the Carbonizaire. I bought this one and customised it, and it's really nice customised. Like a lot of the ones that you steal, there isn't a huge amount of customisation, but they're worth doing. Then we've got the Locust, another one that's in here just because of the handling. Top speed is weak as hell, but it's such a cool car to drive, but I'm not a big fan of the livery I've put on it. Then we've got a random Vigoro. I'm not quite sure what that's doing in here. I must have stolen it for a video. And then the Team America Reatta. I love that thing for all its daftness. It is actually a good off-roader, but with that livery on, it's just stupid. Speaking of stupid, we've got an Issy Cabrio. I have no idea what that's doing in there. But let's jump in the Team America Reatta and head over to the next garage. And it's the auto shop next, which is all about muscle cars. But one tip that I like to do in the auto shop, if you're not bothering to do these restoration vehicles, just do a couple until it spawns you a cool one, then customise them how you like and leave them as decoration. I quite like those too. Anyway, on to the muscle cars. So everything in this garage is muscle themed. I really do like this garage. We didn't get muscle cars much in the UK, although that said, we're starting with a UK muscle car in the Jugular. Just nothing not to like about that thing. Looks, drive, sound, everything impeccable. Very much the same over here with the Dominator ASP, one of my go-tos for drag racers. I just love how it looks. I love that people underestimate it. One of the best looking cars in the game now, the Shyster Deviant. It's just fabulous. I mean, just look at it. Such a good job they did on that. I could quite happily fill a whole garage with those. Then we've got a Coquette Classic. Again, a strange one because there are two versions of this car in the game now, and the other one, which we'll come across later, is slightly better. Vigoro ZX, ridiculous top speed and ridiculous handling. And then we've got another one of my favourites. I just think this thing looks amazing. And that's the Drift Tamper, especially in that brush metal finish. Here we've got the Gauntlet Classic Custom, done up to look like, well, either the Superbird or the Daytona. And the Hot Ring Hellfire, fairly bland apart from the fact that it has the little air brake that plops up. It comes up anyway. And it's kind of cool, just for that and for the livery. But I don't really use it for much else. And then obviously at the back we have the Slam Truck. I absolutely adore how that thing looks. And that's the muscle car garage. So now I need to pick a car to go to the next garage in. And it's gonna have to be the slam truck. Although now I'm getting in it, I can remember there's a glitch that means you can't actually drive out of the auto shop in the slam truck because it just puts you straight back in again. So moving on, let's pick a different car to go to the next garage in. And I think it's gonna have to be the drift tamper. And this is a car, well, this is a garage, should I say. It's not quite full yet. Most of my garages are quite full, but because this is a new business, I've only put cars that I've got from this DLC in here. Starting with the Fireball ASP. If you saw my review on that the other week, I love that thing. I think it's amazing. As is this, the Banshee GTS, the new fastest car in the game, and yeah, a really good looking one too. But as we say, clever done balance, so we've got that as well. Yep, that's all the review that one deserves. And then a couple of cop cars. We've got the Cara Pursuit, which I think is a really, really good looking car. I think it looks well in the cop livery, and I'm quite pleased with the job I've done of this one. I think that looks pretty sweet. Then we've got a Terminus Patrol over here as well. Again, another really good cop car. Both of those are really usable. If you had to pick one, I'd probably pick the Cara as a slightly more useful one, but now I need to pick a car to go to the next garage in, and it's down to 2, and you know which one it's going to be. So it's only a short hop to the next garage. I can't remember what's in here. Oh, this is one of the ones where I have cleared some space, so we've just got a couple of bikes, and it was originally an Italian themed garage, but there weren't enough. So we've got the Power Surge and the Reaver sitting there because there's no room in the clubhouse. And then we've got the 620S, I believe that's called. Kind of, I got it because I quite like the way it looks, but I never use it. One of those cars that, it's a nice ornament, but not necessarily anything that's worth using. And then the S80RR, which is in here because it's arguably the worst looking of all the track cars, and there wasn't room in the track garage for it, but still a good car. And then, oh, I'm going to have to try and say this now, aren't I? Do you know what? It begins with V, and that's it there, based on a TVR. As difficult to say as it is to drive. And then we've got the... That's not the Komoda. I can't remember what that is. That's the Komoda. Again, I've bought this and I like it, but I never use it. That's half of the problem as we come to the Corsita, which I do like, even though it has terrible handling if you drop the suspension too far down. I bought so many cars, most of these I'm going to end up saying I never use that, and that's just because there's just so many, too much. So let's choose this one, because I actually can't remember the last time I drove this, or even what it drives like. So we'll find out on the short hop across to the next garage. And it's not looking good so far, it's pretty skittish. So in here we've got some weird stuff. So we've got the Casco, again, just enough on the box, I had to have it. There are much better classics, but it does look nice and sound good, and that is my choice for missions with randoms. If I ever join someone's prison heist, you can guarantee that's the car I'm going to call out. And we've got the Clique wagon. Not a lot of people like that, but I think it looks just super cool, especially in that red. And right next to its spiritual brother, another sort of surf-themed classic wagon based on an old Volvo. Fabulous looking thing. Crap to drive, but does look nice. Then we've got a couple of rare spawns, which I couldn't fit in the rare spawn garage, but we'll come back to that later. So we've got the Phoenix and the Sabre. So these are two of the rare spawns that appear outside the LS Customs. And they're backed up with a couple of Tornadoes. We've got the Seawash Green. You do not want to know how difficult that car is to get. It's absolute pain in the backside to get that one to spawn. And then it sits opposite the Tornado Rat Rod. Almost totally useless, but ridiculously cool. I love that thing. And then we come to Peak GTA, the Frankensteiner. It's just ridiculous. It has no redeeming features. apart from the sound, it's almost entirely useless, but it's so cool. And then this, which is just completely random, the Roosevelt. There's a cool story behind why it's called the Roosevelt, which I cover in my car names video. But it's quite a nice reproduction of one of these old classic cars. So let's take that one. And again, just a short hop across to the arcade. And this is where cars come to die. And I can't even remember where they are. You can see there I've got everything ready for my next casino heist. And that's just me stalling for time while I try and remember where the cars are in this garage, because the lighting is terrible. So that's why I chose this for places where cars go before they get sold. Now this one I'm unsure about, because this is a rare spawn, but it's not a particularly interesting one. It's Lamar's van with all the junk in the back. Then we've got a Yuga that I stole because I didn't realise the Yuga 2 was different. We have a random Sabre. No idea what that's doing there. Needs to be sold. Then we have this stinking turd, which is the Weaponized. There is nothing about that car that is in any way likeable. It costs a fortune and it's utterly crap. We have a random Gauntlet, which I think I stole for my Top Gear Cars video. We'll come around to the Top Gear garage later. That was replaced by the Michele GT when I had a chance to buy that. And then here we have another which I'm not sure should be in here. So that's a Voodoo. I think I stole that because I wanted to do a custom job on it at some point, but never got round to doing it. Then over here we've got a random Felon GT. We've got the Hijack Chameleon, which is free, and it should be because it doesn't justify any price. And then the Outlaw, which I've no idea why I even bothered with that thing. But picking a car to move on, and you know what? I think I'm going to get this thing out of here because that doesn't belong to be in here, and I can fill its spot with something more deserving. So let's use this time to get over here and give this thing the makeover it deserves. And while I'm doing that, let's just cover one of the ones that I forgot, because it wasn't until I came to do the edit that I realised I'd completely forgotten a garage. And when I got there, I'd also forgotten whereabouts in this building the garage is. So that is over in my vehicle warehouse. Some people may not know there is a garage underneath where you can store a few specialised vehicles. So if you buy the Ruiner 2000, that's where this will live. You can't put it anywhere else. And the same for the Phantom Wedge. There are a couple of other cars that you can put in there, but they're not ones I've ever bothered to buy. So let's get back over to Benny's and see how that customization is doing. And we're just about there. Now that is a much better looking Voodoo, and that can quite happily sit in one of my garages. So what I think we'll do, we'll head over to the arena, because I know it's one of the few places where I've got quite a lot of space. And that's because I only recently bought the arena. What I've actually managed to do for garage space, I've bought every level of every business. I've also bought as many apartments with 10 car garages as I can, and as many of the actual 10 car garages as I can. So I've completely maxed out on garage space without buying the Vinewood garage now. And I have a handful of spaces left, but the most space I have is my only unused garage is floor 2 of the arena. So I'm really getting short on space now. But looking around these, obviously you've got the Voodoo that you just saw me customise, the newest car in the fleet. And then that's flanked with a Gauntlet Classic. I love this thing, based on the Challenger. When I came to customise it, I ended up with white instead of red, but I still think it looks cool. And we've got the second of 2 Jesters, so this is the race car variant. There's no difference in them in terms of speed. Over here, the Romero Hearse. Now, I bought this for a video. Why did I keep it? I have no idea. I do think it looks kind of cool in pink, but other than that, there's no reason to keep it, because if you're having a hearse, this is the one you want. Say hello to Fred. This is the Lurcher, and it's as daft as it is brilliant. I mean, it's awful to drive, but it's beautifully daft. And over here is a car that I completely forgot where this was. So this is the Issy Sport. Great car, great on-road, great off-road, brilliant in the snow, ridiculously quick. bit ugly. And then, oh, another car that I forgot. So this is another Coquette Classic. So I think this is one that I won, and the idea that was that I was going to do that up and sell my original to get some money back. But obviously never did. And there it sits. So let's pick something to go over to the next garage. And you know what it's going to be. So in here we have another supercar garage. Starting with the Lynx. Fabulous looking thing. Absolutely gorgeous car. Brilliant to look at, brilliant to drive. Nothing not to like. Opposite that we've got the Visa Neo. This is another car I like the look of, but not necessarily the way it drives. And then that. Oh, God. Just no. The one, is it the one, I can't remember which way around it is. Is it the 170 or the 177? Based on Aston Martin and disgusting. And what isn't disgusting is that the Bestia. Based on a shooting brake Ferrari. Fabulous looking thing. Another fabulous looking thing is the Tyrus, completely track focused but absolutely gorgeous, brilliant to drive, loads of downforce. Another track focused one but not as good looking is the Autark. It's amazing to drive, but my god, those looks, they're almost criminal. But you can't say that about this, the Comet S2. The brother of the Cabrio that I've got in the other garage, and a fabulous replica of the 911. Love that thing. And here we have the Ocelot Penetrator, the most heroically named car in the game. Based on the XJ220. Really, really great car. It's easy to think it probably won't be very good with it being one of the older ones, but it is really good. Just like this, very much underappreciated, the T20. Looks amazing. Has one of the most raw sounds of any of the cars in the game. I love that thing. And then we've got the Vaca, which I know there are other better supercars, but I just really like that one. I think it looks the part. But there's only one thing that I'm choosing to go to the next garage, and that's got to be the T20. So here to what should be my favourite garage, but isn't because the lighting is terrible. And this is the Casino Penthouse garage, which I nicknamed the Billionaire garage because it's full of billionaires' toys. And what toys would a billionaire have? Well, they'd absolutely have an Italy GTO. One of my favourite cars in the game. Love it. And then the Italy GTB. Not a lot of people like this, possibly because you're made to use it at the end of the Dre contract, but it is a really great car. It looks really good in that kind of turquoisey green as well. Fabulous thing. And of course, no billionaire garage is complete without a Pagani, and that is mine, the Osiris. Really, really good replica of a Pagani and a great car in the game. Another thing all billionaires must have is a brace of Bugattis. So here we've got the Adder, based on the original Veyron. And then we've got the Nero, which is based on the Chiron. And finally my favourite, the Thrax. And I love that car and I love that customization. I think that might be one of the best looking cars I have. Adore that thing. But then another thing billionaires will already have are the older cars as well. And the things that made them. So here we've got the Briosa. Great fun. Schumacher had loads of these. And they're just great fun in the game. They're stupid, but brilliant. Next to that, the Sterling GT. Based on the Mercedes SL. What a fabulous looking thing that is. The GT500 as well, the Grossi GT500. Based on a super rare Ferrari. Brilliant sounding thing. And then, there it is. My Mini. I actually have this in real life, British Racing Green, with a right roof, with a white roof. And I love this thing. This is as close as I can get the one in the game to mirror the one I own in real life. And there's absolutely no choice about which car I'm going to be taking to the next garage. The first thing I noticed in this is in the game in the snow, this drives exactly like my real car does. It's not been driven in the snow for a while since it was made beautiful again, but whilst it was a bit of a shed, it did have a play in the snow and it was absolutely awful. So facility, and I'm going to need to do a little bit more speeding up here because this place is so big. Here we have my Avenger, themed on the Mini, British racing green with white. So let's get a wriggle on round to some of these cars. And all my weaponized stuff is gold, or gold tiger skin if I can get away with it. We've got the weaponized Tampa, very much underrated. Then the half track, one of the best trolling vehicles in the game. If you want to just annoy people, that's a perfect choice. And the king of the missions, a Vigilante, I believe is the only vehicle with homing rockets that you can get in most of the missions, so it's really useful. Then we have the Winky. Looks fabulous but is almost totally useless. Got that from the Kaio Career Progress, one of only a handful of cars I've ever got that way. Quite an old one of mine, the Insurgent. Good in the snow, solid, actually reasonably fun to drive, but a bit dull. And then we have my golden green tiger skin Kanjali. I actually don't know why I bought this because I never use it, but I suppose it's kind of useful to have. Just like this, the Insurgent Pickup Custom, with the proper guns on the top that you get through the bunker research. It takes a long time to get one with all of the options, but it's worth it. And then the Guardian, which I think I just bought because it's quite unusual and you don't see them very often. Another one that I love for its stupidity. It's an absolutely ridiculous car. So now, considering where I'm going next, there's only one choice for vehicle to take. It didn't help that I forgot where Zancudo was. And into the hangar we go. Now you can't see all of the planes I have here because you can only display a certain number at a time depending on the size of them, so I have others that have been hidden that'll come back when we get the extra hangar space in the next update. But we'll start over here, and I forget the name of the helicopters. Is that the Velito? I'm not quite sure why that's here. Maybe I just wanted a metal one. I don't know. Over here we have the ultralight. A real sleeper this is. You can go off the radar in this thing whilst keeping weapons on. Really, really useful. And then the Raiju. Easily the best plane in the game for most people. There are others that are better in some areas, but if you only have one plane for all things, that's the one to get. It does look pretty cool as well. Then the Pyro, a great one for dogfighting, especially if you knock the tail off first. Quite difficult to get used to, but a really, really cool car. Then next to that we have, if I can get past this wing, we have a Buzzard, which is another one that it looks like I've just stored in there so I can have one that's a different colour. But then the Akula, back from my orange period. Great thing. Lets you go off the radar. It's got bombs, homing rockets, decent armour. Great little helicopter, that one. Then the Hunter. This is fabulous for PvP just because of the barrage missiles. You can do some serious damage with those, and I didn't actually realise how big that tail blade is. We head over here to my favourite plane in here, which is the Rogue. I love this thing. I think it looks brilliant. It's great to fly, great in PvP, just great to have and use. Fabulous bit of kit. Everyone should have one of those. B11 with its bunny ears. Can be a bit of a nuisance, but I think it's a good fun plane. I've never really got the hang of it, but it is a really good plane. But speaking of things that are useful, again, I know this is a Pegasus vehicle, but I've stored this in the hangar because the Savage is just so amazing, and having two of them available is definitely worthwhile, especially as it doesn't cost you anything to store them in your hangar. And I think the ones that you call from the hangar tend to appear a little bit closer to you than the Pegasus vehicles anyway. So let's pick to move on, and there's only one choice, and it's not you. It's you. You ready for a textbook landing? So now we're into one of the big garages. So I've got two. This is all about film and TV. So this first floor is all about the Italian Job. Now that bike probably needs to go. That's the closest I could get to the police bike from the Italian Job. I think that's probably one that needs to go. And then here we have the Miura. Gorgeous looking thing. It took me ages to decide whether it needed to be red or orange, because depending on which version of the film you look, it could be either. And here we've got the 3 minis, all with the correct number plates on. The red, white and blue minis from the Escape in the original Italian Job. Look at that. What a fabulous sight. You might have noticed I like minis. And here we've got Charlie's Aston Martin. Unfortunately, Charlie's didn't have guns on the front, but we'll forgive it that. It's close enough. So let's head up to the next floor. So this whole garage is full of movie cars. And it's taken a lot of time to do a lot of these as well. Here we start with Mad Max's Interceptor. So that's based on the Apocalypse Imperator. I actually bought the Arena just to do that car, so arguably that's the most expensive car I've ever bought. Next to that we've got some Fast and Furious action. We've got Dom's Charger. Tried to style it from the first film because there are slight variations in the different films, but I think that's quite a good one. Then we've got Hans RX-7, the Valeside RX-7. Now I know this is based on a Banshee, but this gives you the best option to get the right sort of paint job, and I think it's definitely close enough. Then an LG Retro Custom, and everyone that's bought an LG Retro Custom has done this paint job. You know you all have. Whether you've still got it on or not is a different thing. That's Brian's Skyline from the second film. And next to that we've got the star car from the first film, the Supra, with one of the most movie realistic liveries you can get. The livery on the side, the position of the vents on the bonnet, it looks fabulous. Next to that we've got Brian's Eclipse from the opening of the first film. I think that's quite a good replica as well. They did us proud with a lot of these cars. And here we have the Mona Lisa from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. One of the lesser known cars, but one of my favourites just because of how good it looks. Onto the last floor, we've got last floor of this garage, we've got the Rhapsody, the Mirthmobile from Wayne's World. How can you not want one of these? And this is one of a couple of Dominators we've got up here. So this is based on the car from Bullet, so that you can't really tell, but it's a dark green. Here we've got some from Gone in 60 Seconds. So this is the Mercury Custom that makes a very brief appearance, but you can do a really good replica, so that's why that's here. And then we've got My Eleanor. Now I know there is a car specifically for it called the Ellie, but I think that looks like crap, whereas that looks like a really nice car. That's a much better Eleanor replica. We've got the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and you can't see because of the lighting, but that also has a correct plate on. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to the plates, so try and get the right ones on when I can. And then we have James Bond's Lotus from, is it The Spy Who Loved Me that the Lotus came in? Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And one of my favourites, the Vamos done up as Stuntman Mike's Chevy Nova from the much underappreciated Tarantino movie Death Proof. I love that thing. Impossible to drive, it'll be terrible in the snow, again with a cool plate on. And that's it for this movie garage, so let's head on over to the next one. Here we go, garage number 2, and we start with the star car from the Cannonball Run. In black with the horrific front spoiler on there. It was only put on there just to get around the import regulations at the time, but still, fabulous car. And a great film, I actually watched it recently. It stands up okay. Then we've got the Gran Torino from Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, it's based on the Arbiter, but it's got the right livery, so I'm happy with that. Ecto 1 from Ghostbusters without the horrific livery that you have to choose for it. Again, the plate makes all the difference on that one, and I think that's as close as you can get a replica in this game. This is an unusual one, so this is from the opening chase sequence to Lethal Weapon 2. Really great sequence and a really, really great car. So that's based on the 850 CSI or 650 CSI. Here we have another Coquette D1. I absolutely love this thing, and I think people have asked me which is my favourite video of all the ones that I've done, and I think it's that one. I think it's the review of the D1. Finishing out this floor, we've got Alonso's Monte Carlo. And now we have some movie-themed police cars. So this is just a random Miami police car. So any sort of film or TV show that was set in there is going to have some of these in. Things like Bad Boys, whatever. They all had those in. Terrible car. Nice reproduction. This is as close as I could get to the Pursuit Special from Mad Max. I think they really need to give us some international liveries for these police cars now. But this is a good one. This is Roscoe P. Coltrane's Cruiser from the Dukes of Hazzard. A great replica. Really, really accurate. Very happy with that one. Likewise, that one. The Bluesmobile. A completely battered cop car with no lights. I absolutely adore that thing. That's my most used cop car. But another good replica is this one, which is Murphy's Cruiser from RoboCop. Again, another one that came out really, really close to how it is in the film. So definitely happy with that one. More decent movie cars now with the Fall Guys truck. Both the colours, the style, everything about it just looks really, really close. This is a bit of a stretch. So this is kind of Fast and Furious theme. This is one of the escape vehicles from Too Fast, Too Furious. It's the Contender, and it's reasonably close to the ones they used in the film. So I'll give that a pass. Mainly because it doesn't really belong anywhere else. Last floor in this garage, and we've got the Tron bike. Not much more to say about that. It's the Tron bike. This is cool. This is Francis Dollarhide's van from the original Manhunt. Creepy guy, had a creepy van. It just creeps me out looking at it. One of two Vorschlag hammers. This is based on one of the Mercedes gang escape vehicles from the original, the French version of Taxi. Great car. And then here, we've got Vanilla Ice's 5.0. Couldn't quite get it right, and yes, I know it should be a convertible, but he's got his plate on it. He's got his Go Ice plate on, so he'll be happy. And this is actually one of Sylvester Stallone cars. Now, we did use it in the Expendables, but it is actually one of his cars in real life. And that, again, quite a decent replica of one he's done. Then we've got the Bandit Trans Am. Again, I could do with the Firebird on the bonnet, but I think that's close enough. And that, yeah, work with me on this one. That's about as close as I could get to one of the Jeeps from Jurassic Park. I think this one was from the second film, if I remember rightly. And on to the next garage. And here we are in the Top Gear garage. This was such a pain to put together, but I really enjoyed it. There's a video on this if you want to watch that. So these are all the specials, all the cars used from the specials, starting with Clarkson's Lancia from the Botswana, I believe, which is alongside Oliver, which was Hammond's car. A bit big, but because it was an Opel Kadett in the show. And obviously James had a boring beige Mercedes, which we've got there. Moving on to the America special, we've got Hammond's dodgy, crappy white truck, which is a Bobcat. And then James's Cadillac, and I think that's actually near perfect representation of the condition his was in. And then Clarkson's Camaro. Heading on to the next floor, and we've got the Patagonia special, the one that kind of went a bit wrong. And then we have James's Lotus, which was easily the star of that particular episode, and it's a star of the game as well. So realistic. I love that thing. Hammond's Mustang Mach 2 with the stupid big bug catcher poking out of the bonnet. His in the episode didn't look anywhere near as good as that one. And then Clarkson had a 928. We can't quite do a 928, but the grey Comet is reasonably close. Now this was a pain. This is from one of the Rainforest specials, and this is Hammond's Land Cruiser. Now that's actually a Merryweather Mesa. They're both easy and difficult to get, so what I had to do with that was run endless bunker missions until they sent Meriwether out in these so that I could steal one, take it away and customise it. James had his Suzuki Jimny, which is just a small crap 4x4, so this doesn't look that much like it, but it's the smallest, crappiest 4x4 they've got. And then of course Clarkson's Range Rover. I bet he wish he had this one in that episode. And last but by no means least on this floor, we've got the Polar Special with the Everon. So that was the Hilux in the Polar Special, one of the first, in fact maybe the first proper full-length special. Great car, great episode. And the last floor, we've only got these 3 left. And these are from another one of the Africa specials, and we've got Jeremy's 5 Series Estate. This one's a bit newer, I bet he wishes he had that. Hammond turned up in a Subaru Impreza. That was also an estate, so we're supposed to have estate cars, but obviously you can't get one, but I figured that was close enough for this garage. And then James's 850R, which was just about as interesting as this Vulca ingot that we've got here. And that's actually one of the garages I've got a little bit of room in, but seeing as there aren't going to be any more Top Gear specials, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to fill that one up with. So let's head on to the next garage. And you need to buckle in, or buckle up, because it's a long drive to the next garage. Are you ready? And there we are. So this is one of a couple of JDM themed garages that I've got. Starting with the proper Jester RR, the one that's worth buying. Flanked with a Sultan RS. I love the customization on that, and it sounds amazing. It's a great car. This is based on the RX-7. I think I need to do something with that because it's a great car in real life. It's great in the game, but I don't think that green's doing it any favours. And this is my nemesis, the RT3000, based on the S2000. It's a great car in real life, but I just can't make mine in the game look good. So I need to redo that. Here, this is the Elegy Retro Custom I would want, because obviously if I had one in real life, I wouldn't have the Fast and Furious theme. That is what it would look like. And I've got to thank Benny's for this, because I've always hated the Kuruma, and then I saw what he did to his and I just blatantly copied it, and now I actually like it quite a lot more. So I've just tarted it up a bit with a red and with some black to hide the fact that it's armoured, and I think that almost looks okay. And we've got the Euros, a little bit underwhelming but quite realistic compared to the real life car. I never use it. I'm not sure I've ever used it actually. And then an original Elegy because it's free, so why wouldn't you? It's actually a decent car in the game anyway, and I think it's a shame they didn't do more with it because it's such a cool car. Speaking of cool cars that are underrated, the S95. One of the fastest cars in the game, very much underappreciated. The handling's a nightmare, but my god, this thing is fast. HSW as well. Nothing not to like. And then we have the Warrener. I can't think of any other reason that I bought that I just quite like the way it looks. Almost entirely useless in almost all circumstances. And of course, a couple of bikes. So we've got the Inductor and we've got a race bike as well. So now I need to pick something to go to the next garage in. And you know what it's got to be. Time for some motorbikes. And I'm going to need to look at what they are because I can never remember the name. So we've got the Hakuchu Drag. Great thing. And then the FCR 100. That's a really good bike. That's the custom version. One of the few bikes you can take into Benny's. And I've turned that one into a bit of a cafe racer, which looks really cool. The Faggio mod. Every single mirror option going. Love that thing. And then the Innovation. Now this is one of the first, I think it's actually the first bike I bought, so I spent hours on this early in the game. I love that thing. Another thing that I love is the Oppressor Mark 1. Trickier to handle than the Mark 2, but so much more fun. And we've got the Zombie Chopper, another one that I just bought because I like it. In fact, I don't think I did buy that one. I think I stole that from a player who killed me. The BF 400. Great for stunting and off-road. The Chimera, this is great fun. It looks a bit daft and it's not exactly, you wouldn't call it good, but it is fun. And then that, the Diablos Custom, I think that's got to be one to sell. I can't make it look good. It's another one of the ones that you can customise in Benny's, but it just doesn't do it for me. I think that needs to head over to the for sale garage, but I've got to take the innovation. So now we go to one of my messier garages, which is the agency. There's a lot of stuff in here that just doesn't belong anywhere else. Starting with the D10 Cop. Now I need to get my review out for this, but I do love the way this thing looks. Mine is modelled on the way they do the supercars in with the Dubai Police, because I've seen some of those in real life. They're fabulous looking things, so I had to have one in the game. And as I say, compared to some of the other garages, this one is a little bit messy and a little bit unthemed. Though I have managed to put some 4x4s down this wall here. So we've got the Canis Terminus, and I know, yes, by having the open windows I'm defeating the object of having such an armoured vehicle, but I just think it looks so cool like that. I really like this thing. And here's one of the best off-roaders, and that's the Monstrosity. Next to that, we've got a car that I really don't like. I do like BMWs, but I don't like BMW 4x4s, so the Rebler, no, it's not one for me, I'm afraid. The Astron, maybe. This is one that I bought by mistake because I didn't realise that the Astron and the Astron HSW were completely separate cars, and that you can't add the HSW upgrade to the standard one. So that's going to be sold. And then the Castigator, another one that I've said before I don't like, but I have to accept it is really good. So it's actually a decent car to have, even if I don't like it. There is my Zentorno. So that isn't my original one. I actually won that one and then sold the original to get some money back, and I just never got round to customising it and getting rid of that horrific livery. So next to that we've got the Tempesta, possibly one of the best looking Pegasus in the game. I love that thing. So realistic, based on the Huracan, but yeah, it's just a gorgeous looking thing, and I like that customisation as well. Then we've got the Vorschlag Hammer. So this one is based on the Mercedes Cosworth, because some people don't know that Cosworth wasn't actually a branch of Ford. It was a separate engineering company, and they did work on the Ford Cosworths like the Sierra and the Escort, but they also did work for Mercedes as well, and that's where that thing came from. The Vision, nice looking thing, has the doors that should be put on all of the all of the Koenigsegg's in the game. And then the Pfister Growler, disgusting name but amazing performance. That is surprisingly good in drag races. I've quite a lot of success with that in drag races, and you wouldn't have thought so with it being one of the supposedly lower end sports cars. And then down here we've got some random stuff. So we've got the Swinger, which is the second one I bought. I bought the first one, then sold it because I didn't like it, and then bought it again for a video, and I'm probably going to end up selling it again because I don't really like it. Flash GT, based on the Focus RS. Great car, great in the snow, great off-road, but a bit dull. Speaking of dull, the Impaler SZ, or SZ, hate that thing, boring. And I've got two of those because I've got that one and I've got the cop car version as well, so that one, you're getting sold. The Night Shark, a lot of people's favourite car, but it's just too ugly. I can't bring myself to use it. I've only used that thing about 4 times, and I feel like a dick every time I'm in it. Then we've got the Albany VSTR. Looks good, drives good, sounds amazing. Nothing not to like about that. Quite unusual, you don't see those out very often. And then the Comet Safari. This is one that I got for free from the salvage yard robberies. Brilliant snow car. And just all round nice to have another Porsche in the game. Although it's not nice to have this in the game. That's the worst classic car ever. The original Stinger. Looks crap, drives crap, hate it. So now I need to pick something to head over to the next garage. And at Eclipse Towers it's all about racing. So we start with the BR8. I'm not putting a livery on until they give me an option that makes it look like the Mercedes, so that's plain for now. And then the PR4, which has got the Lotus or JPS livery on. Great looking thing, I love that. R88, another one of the historic open wheelers. Great fun to drive, not as fast as some of the others, but with a nice Williams Rothmans livery on. But my favourite, the DR1 or DR4. Another one that I copied from Benny's when I saw that you could do a really good McLaren replica with that. Then we have a couple of Escorts, so we've got the Mark II, which I quite like, which has a reasonably accurate livery on from rallying at the time, but this is my favourite. The original Mark I Escort, the original retinue with the Gulf livery on, how can you not like that? That is just perfection. Speaking of perfection, we've got the Tropos Rally based on the Lancia Stratos. Great replica. Some new liveries with the latest update. Great looking thing. Then the GB200, formerly my favourite snow car until I did my snow cars video, but still a marvellous car and a nice reproduction. This I think is the best looking of all of the race cars. So that's the BR8, and it's one of the few race cars that I would still take out because I think it looks nice. This one, the RE7B, is close. It has a bit of a futuristic thing going with the way the wraparound windscreen works, but I think the BR8's just got it. But there's only one car I'm taking out of this garage. As we head into another JDM themed garage with the X32, the Euros X32. I love what they're doing with some of these older cars. They're doing a great job of some of the models. And that's a HSW car. It's not one of the faster ones, but it's still pretty cool. The Anis 300R. Tricky one because I like how it looks and it does drive okay, but I just can't love it. Moving on to cars that I can't love, the Kanjo. This one is sort of done like Hector's from the first Fast and the Furious film, but not close enough to getting one of the movie garages. Then the Calico. Slightly disappointing in the snow, although it redeemed itself in the second video, but a really good looking replica. And the 190Z, I love this, based on the Datsun 240Z. I think it's a really, really good replica and I love using this car. Then my cousin's Prelude, that's Darren's Prelude. In silver, fairly bog standard. Fabulous looking thing. I was so jealous when my cousin got one of those, before I could even drive. But moving on, the Futo, yeah, I don't really get it. It's kind of okay, I guess, but it's there. Over here we have the Silvestre, another one that I bought. I think I might have driven it to this garage and driven it to customise it, and then that's it. I do like the way it looks, but I just can't, it never gets on my radar to use it. ETR1 looks ridiculous, especially in pink, but it's quite a good fun drive and it sounds quite nice. And then another, I have no idea. I bought one of these and did it up, and then I won this one from the podium wheel and sold the original. And just clearly couldn't be bothered to do a proper customisation on it. So let's pick a car to move on, and it's got to be Darren's Prelude. And my god, I actually think this is the worst car I've ever driven in the snow. It's almost completely uncontrollable. This will be a quick one. Bail office because there are only 2 spots and they are taken up by 2 cop cars. So there you've got the Dorado, which is formerly the most useful cop car. I used to think it was hideously ugly, but I think with a bit of effort, that one kind of looks okay. So I don't mind that now. And then the Gauntlet Interceptor, one of the more expensive cop cars. Again, another one that I don't use. I bought all of them because I kind of want to have them, but you really don't need to spend as much as I've spent on cop cars. They're an absolute waste of money. You need one to do the vigilante missions, and if you're going to buy one, I would say probably either get the Terminus, the Dorado, or the Caracara. The Caracara would be the one I would go for. Or if you just want to do it the cheapest way, get one of the unmarked ones because they're even cheaper, but they do look like crap. So on to some of the big garages now, and the Nightclub. So in the service entrance we've got the Pipistrello, which is probably where it belongs because it does look good, it looks dramatic, it looks like the sort of thing a nightclub owner would earn, but it's almost entirely useless. And ridiculously slow considering how much it cost. In the utility levels, we've got these three. Hardly use that one anymore. I don't think I've ever used that one. And that is what I've earned the most money in the game with. The nightclub has been my best paying business of all the businesses I have. And a lot of that comes from doing the warehouse sales in public sessions in that vehicle. £2.5 million per go. 5-minute missions, 0 effort. You should definitely do it. And then these are a little bit messy because a lot of stuff has just got dumped here, but we start with the Bullet. So that's one you can steal from the street, but no one ever does. There's not much customization for it, but it's still a nice car to have. Like a lot of the ones that you steal from the street, they are worth taking. And then the Scramjet, really, really good fun, but not very strong. The opposite of this, which is incredibly strong, but not much fun at all. As a result, I never use it. Then we've got the Yosemite Drift, and I skipped over the Serrano, which that's a green Serrano. What more do you want to know? Yosemite Drift looks cool, bought that from another player, modified to hell. And then another one of the Banshees. Now this is making me think I might have forgotten one of my garages, because this is the normal Banshee. I have my Benny's Banshee in the movie garage, and I can't remember where my HSW Banshee is, so hopefully we'll come across that. My first attempt at getting a sea-wash green Tornado, I think that's actually the wrong one. I managed to clean it up, but I think it's the wrong green. Then we have the Duke of Death. Very good early game car. Earned a lot of money and got me started with a lot of the missions, so fond memories of that car. And then the Drauga, brilliant off-road but ugly, and the Revolter, just ugly. That's all the review that's getting. As we move into the FWAF garage, this is just full of rollers. Starting with the Cognoscenti Cabrio. Great looking thing, great fun to drive. I use that more than I should. Unlike this, the Cavalcade XL, which is just awful. Slow, ugly, useless. I could almost say the same for the Baller STD, but at least it does look a little bit better. But one of my favourites, the Windsor Drop. It's just ridiculous. It has no place in the game. It's just so stupid, but I love it. One of the more recent cars, the Perengerin S. Great fun to drive, really quick, well armoured, but somehow I always prefer the Perengerin R. They all do basically the same thing. I mean, the Perengerin R has machine guns, but I just prefer the way it looks. And speaking of things that look nice, here we've got the Stafford. If you ever want to confuse people in a session, go out in the Stafford or in the Jubilee. They're the last couple of cars people expect you to be just cruising the map in. Not particularly useful, but just cool. But speaking of useful, this is possibly one of the best cars in the game. I know you get a Jubilee with the agency, but if you buy one, the upgrades that you can put on it make it so much better and a really, really useful car. Significantly more useful than the Cognoscenti 55 Armoured, which, yes, it's armoured, it's not that quick, but I like it. Then here we have a garage full of randoms. So this is stuff that doesn't really belong anywhere else, and we start with the Clique, Rapid Clique. Great thing, really good muscle car. Unlike this, which is not a good anything car. It's ugly, it's not good on-road, it's not good off-road, it's almost entirely useless. Then we have another Rare Spawn. So this was actually the yellow Rare Spawn rat truck that I picked up and then customised. Probably ready to be sold actually, because I've got the Rare Spawns in another garage that we'll get to shortly. Here's one from one of my previous spending spree videos where I just wanted an Aston Martin convertible. And for some reason, this is one of the convertibles and it won't let you, unless I'm doing something wrong, it won't let you store this one with the roof down, because I like to store all the convertibles with the roof down, but this one just won't let me. Then we have a random Rancher XL, which I think I just nicked and stored because I think it looks cool, which, let's be honest, it does. That's a cool looking thing. Then we have the Novak and the Tornado Custom. This was actually a gang car that I stole and applied some of the custom Benny's attributes too, so that's a lowrider as well. And one of the cars that is nowhere near enough is done with this is the Picador. It's just such a good looking thing, but there isn't enough customization and there aren't enough performance options for it, and I think that is such a cool car. I think they're missing a trick not giving us something for that. But back on lowriders, we've got the Manana, because everyone's got to have at least a couple of lowriders. Yes, they're very expensive and almost entirely useless, but they are kind of cool things to have. So let's pick something to head over to the next garage in. And we're nearly there. Heading over to our last garage, which is the Eclipse Boulevard 50 car garage, and this is all themed by colour. So starting on my first floor, which is blue and red, starts with an XA21. Great looking thing, makes a fabulous sound. Opposite that we've got a Pariah and an 811. Both of these are just underrated and underused. Very much like the FMJ. I still think they're missing a trick by giving us the race mode option where it drops down, because they've done that on the Hermes, so they should be able to do that there as well. Here we've got the Spectre with a glitch paint job, which I don't do many glitches, but I do like putting the pearlescent finishes on the matte paint where the car suits it, and that's what we've got here. We've got a pearlescent red over a matte red. And then we've got the Tyrant, which I think looks really, really good, but it's just too big. If that whole thing was scaled down by maybe 10 or 15%, it would be perfect, but it's just too big. Emirates, brilliant. Expensive, but fast. And then another Obey. I don't have that many of these, and that's another one with the pearlescent finish over the matte paint with the 10F wide body. And then one of my favourites, the GP1. Just look at that thing. Based on the McLaren F1, great in the game, great in real life. Rare in the game and rare in real life. And then we have another Tempesta. Why I didn't sell one of those, I have no idea. But let's head into floor 2, which is black and white. Starting with the Krieger. Brilliant car, but a little bit dull. Which is the exact opposite of the X80 Proto. Which is a rubbish car, but quite exciting. And this is where I forget some of the names, because I always forget with the overflods which one is which. So that's the MT. Really, really ridiculously quick. And a really good looking car. Has the wrong doors, should have the doors from the Furia on it. And then we have the XXR, Entity XXR. All of these are based on Koenigseggs, and they're really good replicas and they're really quick in the game as well. We've got the Tygon. I'm sure it's pronounced Tygon because it's based on the Di Tommaso concept car, and they tend to have big cat themes, and a Tygon is a crossbreed between a tiger and a lion. Then here we have the Jester, the Crew Black, which is the absolute black. Great looking thing, definitely punching above its weight, definitely belongs to be in this supercar garage. Torero XO, possibly one of the best looking cars in the game. Absolutely stunning replica of the Countach concept, just gorgeous looking thing. Speaking of gorgeous things, the Champion. One of the least useful Imanitech cars, but still pretty damn good looking. And then over here we have the Reaper, based on the Lycan Hypersport, just like a super rare plaything. Not very good at all. Looks good, so nice to put on display, but not a very good car at all. Unlike this, which is incredible, the SM722. I love the way it looks, drives, sounds. There is nothing that I don't like about that car. So let's head on to the next floor, which is orange and yellow, and starting with Joe Bear's baby, the Ignis. 4-wheel drive, HSW, super quick, super great handling. It's a shame the gun is so ugly. But this is one of my favourite of the hypercars, the Wagner, based on the Aston Martin Valkyrie. I just think it's a stunning looking thing, and I love using that whenever I can. Unlike this, the Devastate, which is just so disgustingly ugly, it's almost unforgivable. It's incredibly quick, but it's too short at the front. It looks like it's melting at the middle. It's got those two horrible exhaust at the back. It's just gopping. Unlike this, the Furia, which has the doors that should be put on all of the overflods. And do you know what? That actually looks and drives really, really well. I like that car. It's a little bit underrated because it doesn't sit at the top of any kind of time boards, but it's still a cool car. Very much like this, another one of the entities, which is the XF, the oldest of the entities in the game, based on the original Koenigseggs. Fabulous looking thing. Again, completely outshone by most of the other more modern supercars, but still a great looking thing and worthy spot in this garage. Then the Omelette, and despite slating this, I do actually really like it. It looks good and it drives well. I just think it's a little bit too soft. I think it should be a little bit harder than it actually is. A bit more like this, the Comet SR, which is probably the best handling of all the sports and supers in the game. It's really quick and really, really good fun to drive. Really great balance, that car. Definitely worth buying. Unlike this, the Stinger TT. What can I say about that I haven't said a million times before? It's just horrible. Whether you like the looks or not is entirely up to you, but the handling is unforgivable. But then you've got the D10, which is a really, really great choice for drag racers. 9 speed in the drag racers, so you can really do quite well in that. As we move to the next floor, which is all about classics. Starting with the Turismo, which is based on the F40, and you might think it's sacrilege to put a chrome strip down the middle of an F40, but it's my F40. And here we have the Comet Retro Custom, another Benny's car that gives you a really realistic sort of 90s rough or turbo 911. Great little bit of customization there. And then we have the Mamba, a replica of the Cobra, which, let's face it, every Cobra you've probably seen is actually a replica of the Cobra anyway. And then another Coquette Classic. I really like the customization on this one. I think the blue and the black works really, really well. And that's a really nice car to drive, actually. I like driving that one. Handles really well. This one doesn't handle quite as well, but it looks good. So this is the Viceris, based on the Di Tommaso Pantera, and that's done in the same colour as Elvis's. So if it's good enough for Elvis, it's good enough for me, just like this. If it was good enough for James Bond, it's good enough for me. So this is based on the V8 Vantage from the 80s, and that's the Rapid GT Classic. Another one of the classics that's really good to drive. Some of the classics are awful to drive, but not that one. Another one you can steal off the street, so most people never buy, is the Infernus. And again, like most of these, you can't do much with customization when you buy them, but you can do enough to make them yours, and the performance upgrades are worthwhile. And we've got an Infernus Classic and the Miami Vice Cheetah. So yes, the Testarossa. Arguably could be in the film and TV garage, but it can sit here with the classics opposite this, which is one of the nicest driving supercars. It really is lovely to drive this thing. It's just unfortunate that it has a face that only a mother could love. So let's head into the next garage, which is Rare Spawns. So this is probably, alongside the Top Gear garage, is the one that took the longest to put together, because all of these can be a pain to get. Now that Sabre was relatively easy, but this Ruiner took forever to spawn. It's supposed to be one of the easier ones to get, but it just would not spawn for me. Most of these you can get, there are plenty of guides you can get by just driving around certain areas over and over again until they spawn. These two are the easiest, the two Sentinels. They spawn in the same place pretty much every night. You'll either get the yellow one or the blue one opposite. These are quite cool because you can put HSW upgrades on these and make them really, really nice and quick. I did a video on the fastest free car with these. So they're definitely easy to get and worth the time and effort. And then we've got the Mariachi Tornado, which you get by driving out to a spot in the mountains, waiting for a little incident to happen, then you shoot the driver and you can get across and steal this car, which is basically a standard rusty Tornado but with all these guitars in the back, which is kind of cool. And then we have the Rat Truck. So there are two, there's the green one and the yellow one. I've got them both, but obviously there are only 10 spots in this garage, so I can't put everything in here, so the other one got customised and dumped elsewhere. And then the ones that everyone wants, the silver and the gold dubsters. The first one of these was an absolute pain to get. You can make it quicker by calling Agatha and stealing one of the Dubster 2s to help it spawn. These spawn by the LS Customs, and it's almost completely random. There are certain times where it's more likely. You also need to be careful with players trolling you by putting these on with ignition bombs attached. But it is doable. And then these two are another two that are quite easy. You get these from up in Palito Bay, so these are the two Sand King XLs. It's easier to get these to spawn if you're in a Sand King XL, but if you steal one of those, make sure you get the crew cab one, which is the XL and not the normal Sand King. Drive round in circuits, and eventually one of these will appear at one of the petrol stations up north, and they're pretty cool things. They're ridiculous, but cool. And that's it. That is the tour of all of my garages, and when I say all of my garages, it's all of the ones that I can remember. So I've now got to go back and double check that I didn't miss any. So sorry if that was a little bit longer than usual, but I hope you found that useful. Be really keen to hear what you've got to say in the comments. So to all of you, I hope you've had a wonderful new year. If you do New Year now, if you do New Year later in the year, then I suppose Happy New Year for then when it comes. And let's all look forward to what's coming in 2025, which hopefully will include GTA 6. Thanks to all of you for watching throughout 2024, and I'll see you all in the next one.